you going, guys? Mason Corby from Downunder Lumix here. Today's video we're going to be talking about backtracking. Okay, so I'm doing a jump here that you probably quite regularly see at the DZ when people are learning to skydive. They're doing a three-way track. Usually got a guy on his back, maybe do it on his belly, sometimes two on the back. In this case we've got Bryce here who's on his back, I'm leading on the belly, and then we have Andre chasing us out on the belly. So there is a little bit of a trick to this one. Bryce isn't super comfortable on his back yet. He's done a little bit of back angles, but not really finding and feeling that kind of steeper position. Okay, so he's still kind of what we call dead dogging, which I've spoken about in previous videos. Now, to learn to track and start flying more of a straight orientation and steeper orientation, it's pretty hard when you're just following and there's a leader setting the pace. So the way we used to do it back in the days, the leader, when we were learning backtracking, they'd be on the back and all the belly people would come down to them, okay? So what we learned from there as well, we really do want to see the ground, okay? So it's best to have the leader on the belly, but we still can do a bit of a hybrid technique here with the person on the back not necessarily having to worry about coming to the leader. The leader comes to them, so the person on the back is the base and the person on the belly is the navigator. So if he's telling the person on the back, turn, we need to go this way, although they're flying close to them, they can actually turn a lot easier because they can see the signals a lot clearer. Now we've got Andre following here on his belly. He goes pretty good on his belly. Good old Bryce who's on his back, he goes pretty good on his belly as well. And Andre goes pretty good on his back too. So they are quite experienced jumpers as well. So they're pretty current. One's an instructor and one's just fun jumper. Okay, so as I said, this is a common jump you'd see. So we're just going to go through and debrief it a bit and talk about pros and cons and the reason why this is a good method to kind of get out and learn to track. Of course, go and talk to your local staff at the DZ, make sure they are okay with you doing this and explain your thought patterns and blah, blah, blah. Okay, you still need to make sure you are navigating the whole time. That's the most important. Okay, cool. So we first look at the jump. What we can see is jump run straight away. That's what we really want to make sure we're looking at first. Make sure you always know jump run, where you're getting out, the X point and all this kind of stuff, okay? So where is a spot? If you look down here, see the drop zone is actually back under this cloud around here, okay, which we'll see later on. So jump run's heading in the direction, I'm pretty sure it was 190 on this one. We're going to track off the left towards the east, towards the ocean, okay? So for the exit, I'm telling Bryce, because he hasn't done heaps of it, he hasn't really nailed the position yet. I'm telling him to kind of get off in more of a back to props and more of a back fly position, okay? So more like you're hopping into a lounge chair, like an armchair. The reason for this is he's done a bit of back flying in the tunnel. It's a familiar position for him. Once he starts getting the feeling of the correct technique that he's going to try and exit into, then we'll start getting him to do the proper technique. Because if he's trying to do a proper technique into a proper technique position and he's never done the position before, he's kind of walking around with his hands over his eyes trying to turn the light on when he doesn't even know where the light switch is. Yeah, probably doesn't even know where the light exists. So get off in a comfortable position that you're aware of, then go in a dead dog position. I said just be comfy. I'm going to fly down to you, and then we can start working on the technique stuff. Okay, so we get off. Cool. You can see he's a bit more of that dead dog position, as I said. Check out Andre, what's he doing? Oh, look at him, he's a weird position. As I said, we're coming back, so the leader is behind us. The leader, who is Bryce, the base, is behind us on leading. So you can see with the plane, we've turned off jump run. Okay. So coming down, trying to get his attention. All right, you can see that shape that he's in there. Okay, his shape that he is in. Bear with me for a second. Okay, so you can see the shape that he's in there, guys. So if I flip this for a second. Okay, so if I flip this for a second, we're going to look at different shapes that he's flying in. So we can see on the horizon. So the kind of shape Bryce is flying at the moment is kind of more like a dead dog shape. Like this. Okay, so the wind's kind of not really, it's kind of hitting him and he's ploughing through like he's doing a belly track. We have the wind like this. His head's here, his arms are going back, so he's not really in that steeper kind of back angle position that we see a lot of the experienced guys doing when we're flying through the air, okay? So a lot straighter. All right, so that's what we're trying to get him into, feeling this position here rather than this position here. Okay, it's just a process, it's normal, everyone goes through it. All right. So I'm saying now, you'll see I'm saying bring your arms down, accelerate a bit, feel the wind. I've briefed him before we go up. Wider, slower, in closer, faster. You can actually feel the different pressures on the wind. You can feel where that dead spot is, where the burble is as well. So you can feel when your arms are outside the burble, how much drag you have, when they're inside the burble, how much drag they have. Okay, if we look at his body here, the burble is probably going up this way. So his arms are just outside that burble. So if he brought them in, they're going to be on that rim of it. He can feel where that dead spot is, feel the controls going up. More surface area, more drag, equals you're going to go slower or you're going to go higher, okay? Less drag, less surface area, you're going to go faster or you're going to go steeper. Same, feel that wind. Here he goes, he's trying to push off it a bit, he's starting to straighten with his legs. Yeah, another thing I said to him as well, don't push on the legs too much. If you kind of cringe the legs and you start causing this shape too much, you can see where the legs are bent compared to this shape here. Okay, I'll draw them both up in a sec so you can see the way the wind flows. Cool. So he's now starting to get into that shape. You can see here on my belly. All right, if we look at I'm going to slow down towards him because now, remember, he is the one leading, so I want to be able to go to him and give signals, okay? So even though I'm choosing the heading and picking the heading, he's the base who we're going to. So I'll go back so I can have a clearer signal with him. Now, if you'll notice what I've done compared to Andre here, you can see his shins at the moment, he's in more of a position like this, okay? And my position I've just done, kind of lost a bit of lift. Kind of done something like that. Okay, so I've essentially pushed my knees down like an air brake. Now this is going to slow me down this direction. Yeah. Or it's just going to stop me. It's going to allow him to speed up. Oh, you can see that change. Oh, now I've straightened my legs and now I've steepened back up again. Okay, pulling those legs in slower. Yep, he's starting to get that position. Okay, you can see now he's starting to dig those heels in a bit more, and this is what I was talking about when I was saying having the position compared to something like this, compared to something like this that he was before. If we're going to do it flatter, something say he's flying kind of like that, yeah, his arms up, you can see he's pushing off the wind drag here compared to say something like that, flatter. Make sense, I hope? The reason is because the wind spills off a lot more rather than digging. You can see this is almost making him go the other direction now. Use the horizon a bit more. It's almost like he's going to start head-up tracking the other way. Whoa, he's got the brakes on. Just stalling out. So you want to find that range. Don't think, oh, I shouldn't be doing this, I shouldn't be doing that. There is no should and shouldn't. Just be aware of what you are doing. Ah, this is too much. Ah, this is where it is. Just go up in 2 ways and 3 ways like this and find the controls. Don't stress about have to get there, have to have the perfect position. Go and fuck the controls up a bit. Whee, alright, that was a bobble. I'll find out what that does. Try another one. Whee, there we go. Just get the controls. It's like balancing. Okay, just learning the balance. Now he's starting to get the controls a bit more. Whee, a bit too steep. Okay, you can see there where he went steep because his legs, he's come off. A bit of stall in there. And then he's arched too much and pulled his head down. Or his shoulders back, sorry. And then he started steepening up. So this will happen a lot when you'll see someone doing an angle in the beginning and they're kind of just working out these controls. And they might have done 20, 30 back angles like this on a 2-way or a 3-way. They go, yeah, I can do this in an 8-way. And you'll see them go on to do that. And because they don't quite have the controls of the speed and all this kind of stuff, that's when they'll plough through the formation. So if you see someone doing this and you're the leader, the way to make this a bit safer again is to start adding that speed on. Because it means the speed of the angle is slow. That's why you can see him stalling out and stuff like that, because he's just kind of getting the range. So you can see how I'm having to come forwards and backwards and continue to come back to him. So until he starts getting that control of that lift and that push and that drive, then when you're in a group, make sure you're going that little bit quicker. Yeah. Ideally, if he's doing control like angles like this with this skill in the back, you probably don't want to be going any more than a 3-way. Yeah, well, not probably, you don't. You don't really want to be doing any more than the 3-way in the back. Cool. So you'll find a lot of people in saying that have and can do more than 3-way tracking jumps on their back, and that's because they've probably done 100 in that very first position that we saw him do in the dead dog position. Whereas if you're doing it as you get more and more comfortable, more and more steeper, that position becomes less efficient, because otherwise you're just having a dead dog until you're literally just on your back like you are in a tunnel if the speed was turned up to 90%. Yeah, so learning to get in that steeper position is really important. You can see where I stalled there again with my legs to slow back down to him. Okay, this time I went into a position, rather than using my legs and my shins to go into a stall, I've kind of gone into a position like this to stall. So a very typical position that people fly in when they're first doing an angle, and this is the first position that a lot of them fly in when they try to go steeper, because they bring their knees up, they forget to bring the shins down. So this one also works to go slower. So this is what I mean by, rather than just saying this is right or this is wrong, each one of these wrong techniques that we're told has a certain purpose and a use later down the track if you know how to use it. So let's see if I'm talking smack here and I actually do it. Boom, there we go. See, I'll slow down, speed up again. Obviously, you only do these techniques if you have a lot of experience. Don't just start throwing these in while you're doing a 6-way or whatever. Go up like this and do it in 2-way and 3-way, but just be careful. You saw how quick it was that I travelled back then. You don't want to do them overdo it, because you can have impact as well. So when you're doing these moves, just be slow. If you're experienced, obviously do what you want to do. But if you're just learning them, just start slow moves, slow, consistent. Let it sink in. Break off you go. Great track off. Cool, so for Brycey, it's just going to be getting that feeling with the legs. Okay, not having to push on the wind too much. This is something that happens when people tell you to straighten your legs, okay? Don't need to have them tense all the time. For back angles or any angles or anything, the only reason you should have your legs straight and pinned with your toes up is if it's necessary to do so. If you're on a jump and the leader's going slow, well, you need to learn how to fly in brakes. If the leader's going fast, well then you need to learn to go fast and straighten your legs. Okay, so there's techniques for each thing. There's inefficient and efficient. Just be aware of them all and experiment, have fun, be safe. I hope you like the video. If anyone wants a video debriefs or anything like this, I do offer them as well on the website. So I do personal debriefs for people. So if you something you think you'd like, hit me up, downunder.com. And yeah, I hope you liked this one and learned something. Cheers guys, leave your comments, like and subscribe. Have a good one.